This conference will now be recorded.
Alright, in the last session, we talked about automatic payment program. We executed few scenarios, which are basic scenarios of accounts payable, automatic payment program. And then we understood that we are going to proceed further with the connecting point of automatic payment program in order to get fair idea about the full process, full flow. Now, I hope everybody is clear with how to create APP configuration, how to execute automatic payment program, right? Any questions on APP basic configuration, execution part? Clear, right, everyone? We are able to create FBZP. We are able to execute F110 without any error. You are able to understand logic behind your proposal. If you get any error in proposal, how do you delete it? How do you rerun the proposal? We are clear. Now, once automatic payment program is completed, the next activity that every organization will perform is bank reconciliation. So now I will talk about bank reconciliation statements. What we will do initially is we've understood the basic functionality of automatic payment program. Now we are understanding basic functionality of bank reconciliation statement. Then we will take one example wherein we will list out these are all the vendors, this is the invoices, this is the outstanding. We will execute automatic payment program for those scenarios, and then parallelly we will execute bank reconciliation for it parallelly, simultaneously, which means you are able to understand the vendor purchasing process plus vendor payment process and then the payment reconciliation continuously, so that it will give you a logical, clear understanding what happens in any organization. And the different scenarios which are to be executed in automatic payment program, I will be making you understand conceptually with simple examples in the interview sessions, which you can experiment based on our regular class configuration recordings or a regular class configuration understanding. Now, when we are talking about bank reconciliation statement, always remember bank reconciliation statement, this is to match accounting bank balances with bank statement balances. As we all know, whenever you record any transaction in bank, you are going to record first in the accounting. You are going to record your banking transaction first in the accounting. After that, the accounting transaction will be executed or will be settled in the bank. Because you are holding the account in the bank, whatever the transaction that you are initiating or that you are receiving, it can be the payment that you are processing, payment that you are receiving, or any other expenses, any other incomes that are processed directly in your bank account are handled directly in the bank. Now you will come to know what exactly is happening in your bank only after looking at the bank statement. We will come to know what is happening in our bank account only after looking at the bank statement. Now, in most of the organizations, this bank reconciliation is either a daily reconciliation activity or a weekly reconciliation activity, depending on the nature of business, depending on the size of business, depending on the number of entries that they are doing on a daily basis. If it is a large company, on a daily basis there may be hundreds of transactions, thousands of bank transactions are happening. If they don't do the reconciliation on a daily basis, at the month end or at the weekend they will accumulate a lot of transactions, and it is practically very difficult to reconcile it. That is why most of the companies, they do not keep bank reconciliation pending until the month end. They will do it on a periodical basis. When I say periodical basis, they may be doing once a week, twice a week, thrice a week, maybe every day, depending on the number of transactions that they are operating. Now here one point that you need to understanding is, I will write accounting here, I will write banking here. When we are talking about BRS or when we are talking about bank reconciliation statement, you should always remember accounting is different, banking is different. Now your accounting, your banking, both will work with reverse mechanism. When I say both will work with reverse mechanism, these two are quite opposite. Whatever you talk as debit in accounting, this debit in accounting will become credit in banking. So when you say debit from accounting perspective, bank will tell your debit as credit. Similarly, when I say credit in my accounting, bank will tell your credit as a debit. You call debit in accounting, bank is telling it is a credit. You are calling credit in accounting, bank is telling your credit as a debit. So you should always understand that these are not similar in nature. When we say these are not similar in nature, from debit credit perspective, your accounting, banking are opposite. From debit credit perspective, your accounting and banking are opposite. Now we need to make sure from debit credit perspective, we are not getting confused. Make sure that from debit credit perspective, you are not going to get confused. You are always going to understand, you are always going to identify the transaction based on the impact. Based on the impact. When you're talking about based on the impact, you have to talk about increase, decrease. When I'm talking about increase, decrease, I need to say any transaction, whether it is payment, whether it is receipt, whether it is expense, whether it is income. I'm not supposed to represent it by way of debit credit. Instead of representing the transaction by way of debit and credit, I am going to represent based on the impact on my bank account closing balance, whether a particular transaction is going to increase my bank balance or it is going to decrease my bank balance. If it is increasing my bank balance, now I am going to look at, if I am looking at my accounting, I know increase in accounting is a debit. If I'm looking at my banking, I know that increase in bank balance is credit from bank perspective. But when you are explaining it to anybody, do not bring debit credit into picture. If you bring debit credit into picture, you can straight away see debit is showing as credit in banking, credit is showing as a debit in banking, which means these are quite opposite. So there is a huge possibility of contradiction, huge possibility of a confusion. Your intention may be correct, the other person may feel that you are understanding wrong. So it is difficult to convince the other person, because even in SAP we don't use a concept called a debit credit. We always use a concept called whether a particular transaction is increasing your bank balance or is it decreasing your bank balance. If it is increasing, according to your book, if you are writing an accounting book, you are going to consider debit as increase, credit as decrease. If you are seeing from the bank statement perspective,
No voice, sir. They're not hearing your voice.
Sir, can't hear your voice.
can you see my screen now?
Yes, Ajay, we can see now.
Okay. So in order to understand bank reconciliation, in order to proceed further with the concept of bank reconciliation, first point is to understand not to remember debit and credit concept. Instead of remembering a debit credit concept, always go with increase decrease concept. When I say increase decrease concept, balance increasing, balance decreasing. See it from the bank balance perspective, whether a particular transaction is increasing your bank account balance or it is decreasing bank balance. Accordingly, easily you can map debit credit. Now, next thing what I will do is, I will put some sample statement here. Okay, I'll put some sample bank statement. When I say sample bank statement, we can mention any bank name, any date of our choice. I am going to write, let's say, I'll say HSBC current account, maybe some account number, statement for, let's say, November 2023. We are assuming that we are taking HDFC current account, some account number I have taken, statement for November 2023. Now, in any bank account statement that you take, normally you are going to take a bank statement for a month. Normally, for your financials, for your balance sheet finalization purpose, we need bank statement for a particular month. If you're talking about November month financials, you have to produce November month bank statement. And this is mandatory in every organization. The accountant or the user will have to download the bank statement for November month. When we say November month, 1st November 2023 till 30th November 2023. Balance as on 1st November is your opening balance. Balance as on 30th November is your closing balance. In short, in your bank statement, you are going to have two attributes as mandatory. First one is your opening balance. First one will be your opening balance. Let me put a different color for opening balance. And next one, what you will have is, you will have something called closing balance. Understand what is opening balance and then understand what is closing balance. If you are looking at a bank statement for November 2023, opening balance is representing opening balance as on 1st November 2023. This will be your opening balance date. Okay, and when you're talking about closing balance as on 30th November 2023, this will become your closing balance. Now, for an example, I will take opening balances. Let's say, let us take all the round figures so that it is easy to understand how statement values are being affected. I will take something like 100,000 or 1 lakh. 1 lakh is the bank opening balance as on 1st November. Now let's say on different dates you have different transactions. Now I will say on 1st November, check issued to Mr. A. Now when I say check issued to Mr. A, I have to be very specific. I need to write the check number. Let's say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. I'm writing 7-digit check number. Check issued to Mr. A. I will put the amount as some 25,000, or I'll say some 20,000 I will take here. And next one I will write on 3rd. Those who are not talking, please go on mute. On 3rd November, I will say check received from, you can switch off the cameras, Mr. B. On 3rd November, I am saying check received from Mr. B. I'll put the check receipt amount as some 30,000. Now I'll put on 5th November, bank transfer paid to Mr. C. Now when I'm talking about bank transfer, I need to make sure the transaction reference number. I'll say some random number. This one I will say 40,000, and on 10th November I will take bank transfer received from Mr. D. I'll say 10,000. Now on 15th November I will say bank charges, and on 25th November I'll say bank interest received, and this one I'll say some 2,000. Here I will say some 4,000. Now this I'll leave it blank. Now assuming these are the transactions that took place in a month. Now here I'll put, yeah, here I'll put transaction and here I'll put amount. This is the amount. Now first, when you're looking at the bank statement, always look at what is your opening balance. When you're looking at the bank statement, always look at the opening balance. If you look at this bank statement, opening balance, whatever you can see, is 100,000 or is 1 lakh. This is your opening balance. Highlight this opening balance with. To begin with your bank statement understanding, first point is to understand what was our bank opening balance or what is the statement open, and look at what is your closing balance. Now here currently we have not updated any closing balance. I will highlight closing balance also. Now we have to calculate what is the bank closing balance. Now the difference between opening balance and closing balance is the transaction list. The difference between opening balance and closing balance is basically the transaction listing for that time period. Now this statement is from 1st November to 30th November. The difference between opening and closing balance will reveal the transactions that took place between this date range. Now here we have listed some transactions. Similar transactions you may get multiple based on the nature of a business, based on the number of transactions that you're having on a daily basis. It may be in 1000, it may be 2000, it may be 500, but the logic concept will remain the same. Now point what we need to look at is your source, your base is always bank statement. In order to do BRS, your source is not accounting, source or your base is always bank statement. When we say bank statement, first you have to get the bank statement from the bank. Bank statement is prepared and provided by the bank, assuming this is the bank statement that we received from the bank. Once statement is received from the bank, look at the opening balance 100,000 and look at the transactions. When you are looking at the transaction, make sure how this transaction is affecting your bank balance. How this transaction is affecting your bank balance means you need to put impact here. When I say impact, the transaction impact, whether this particular bank transaction is going to impact increase in my bank balance or decrease in my bank balance. Currently, you have the opening balance. Opening balance does not have any impact. I'm leaving opening balance impact as blank. Second one, whatever you have is the check issued. When we talk about check issued, we are issuing the check. When we are issuing the check, our check issue is represented as check payment. Our check issue is represented as a check payment. When you are writing a check or when you are giving a check to the supplier, supplier account or supplier will receive the amount from your bank account, payment will be reduced. When you issue a check, your bank balance will come down or your bank balance will be reduced. So any payment that you are processing from your side, your bank balance will go down. So here I will say this will decrease. When I say this will decrease, this check payment or check issue, whatever we have given to the vendor, is going to decrease our bank balance. Second one, we are writing check received from Mr. B. Whenever you are receiving a check, your bank balance is going to increase because when you deposit the check in your bank balance will be added to the extent of check amount. So this 30,000, whatever the check that you received from your customer or from whosoever, you are going to deposit this check in the bank. When you deposit any check in the bank, your bank account balance will go up, which means your bank balance is going to get increased. So for check issue, I am writing a decrease. For check receipt, I am going to write increase here. My bank balance will be increasing here. Next one, we are talking about bank transfer paid to Mr. C. This is another payment, but the mode of payment is different. Initially, when we processed the payment, we issued the payment via check. This time, we are issuing the payment based on the bank transfer. Whether you issue a check, whether you do a transfer, it is the same impact. Your account balance will come down. When your account balance is coming down, we are representing this as a decrease in your bank balance. So I am going to write this as a decrease. Next one, I am writing as bank transfer received from Mr. D. Whenever you are receiving bank transfer payment from any customer or from any source, this is again a receipt into your bank account. When you say this is a receipt into your bank account, any receipt in your bank account is going to increase your bank balance. Any receipt in your bank account will increase the balance. Anything which is increasing, I am going to write it as increase here. I will write this as increase. And after that, there is a transaction called bank charges. There is another transaction called bank interest received. These two transactions are treated in a little different way because whenever you incur any bank charges, you will not come to know unless and until you see the bank statement. Only when you look at the bank statement, you will come to know what are all the bank charges that you had incurred during the month. Similarly, unless and until you see the bank statement, you do not know what incomes are credited into your bank account, like your interest, commissions, whatsoever. Only after looking at the bank statement, you will come to know these are all the incomes that we've received from the bank in this month. These are all the expenses that we incurred in the bank in this month. So any bank charge that you are incurring is going to decrease the bank balance. Any expenses, any bank charges will decrease your bank balance. Similarly, any interest that you are receiving or any income that you are receiving is going to increase your bank balance. Here I will put this is going to increase the bank balance. Now in short, we are able to list out for these how many transactions? For these 6 transactions, whether each of the transaction is going to increase the bank account balance or it is going to decrease the bank account balance. Once we understand whether your statement transaction is going to increase the account balance or it is going to decrease the bank balance, you need to find out the closing balance. So when we are finding out the closing balance, the amounts are not with any amount sign. When we say amount is not holding any sign, whether this is a positive amount or this is a negative amount, there is no sign. There is no sign, there is no debit credit indicator. As we understood in the bank statement, for understanding purpose, for BRS purpose, we are not going to bring the concept of debit credit for the reason that these are opposite in nature. So instead what we are going to understand the impact first. We need to understand a transaction impact, whether a particular bank transaction is going to increase the balance or decrease the balance. Easily you can identify this once you refer this lines couple of times. Easily you can understand. Once you understand whether it is decrease or it is increase, whether it is in accounting or anywhere else, I will write increase is equal to positive and decrease is equal to negative. So when you're talking about increase, you're talking about positive number. When you're talking about a decrease, you're talking about negative number. Now, based on this logic, we can easily put plus minus sign for all this. Now, if I put my opening balance as positive or negative, that is also important. You have to mention whether your bank opening balance is this positive balance or negative balance. This also we need to mention. For now I am mentioning no sign. No sign means it is a positive balance. No sign means it is a positive balance. Now according to bank, positive balance is overdraft. According to bank, positive balance is overdraft. According to bank, positive balance is overdraft. Now what I am going to do, I am going to write debit credit perspective or amount perspective. If I am bringing debit credit perspective, the way I am looking at the system is different. So as we understood, we are not going to bring the concept called a debit credit here. So positive negative is not representing debit credit here. Positive negative is representing increase decrease, not debit credit. Because for debit credit also we will be using plus minus sign, but here we are not seeing positive negative from debit credit perspective. Instead we are looking at positive negative from increase decrease perspective. Now if the amount is positive, which means you had the available funds in the bank account, this is a positive amount. For 1 lakh, if you issue a payment to Mr. A, what is going to happen? This payment is going to decrease your bank account balance. This payment is going to decrease the bank account balance. Anything which is decreasing the bank account balance, you are going to write a negative number. This is your decrease. Anything which is reducing your bank account balance or decreasing your bank account balance, I am going to put a negative sign here. I am going to write minus 20,000 here. Next one, I am going to write another transaction called check receipt. This check receipt we have listed. This amount is going to increase the bank account balance. If this is increasing your bank account balance, it is a positive number. For positive number, there is no sign. Amount without any sign is represented as a positive number. So to understand, to read this as a positive number, I am not going to put any sign. Plus minus will not be there. Only the number plain value is represented as positive number. Next one, you have bank transfer paid to Mr. C. When you're talking about bank transfer paid to Mr. C, this transfer is a payment. Any payment is going to decrease the amount. Any decrease is a negative number. Negative number means minus sign here. Okay, after that we are writing bank transfer received from Mr. B. This is another payment that we are telling we received from Mr. B. When you receive any payment from any customer or from any source, your receipt is going to increase the bank account balance. Increase in bank account balance, you are not going to any sign because that will be a positive number. I am not putting any sign here, it will be positive. After that, you're talking about bank charges. Bank charges is an expense. Any expense will decrease the bank account balance. Decrease in bank account balance is negative number. Similarly, last one you are writing about bank interest received. Any interest that you are receiving from bank is an income. Income is going to increase the bank account balance. If it is increasing, it will be a positive number. First, what we did, we have listed the transactions. Then we understood the impact, whether it is going to increase or decrease. Based on the increase decrease concept, we are going to update positive number, negative number. After writing all this, just to do a sum for this. If you do a sum for this, you are going to get the closing balance. Considering these transactions at the end of the month, your bank account is supposed to show closing balance of 82,000. After this, your bank account is supposed to show the closing balance of 82,000. Considering this example, you can replace this with any bank, any transaction, any amount of your choice. Okay. Now, in order to understand the concept first, consider the same example, whatever we have listed here. We need to make sure we will post the same transactions in SAP and we will perform the bank reconciliation first. When we are performing the bank reconciliation first you need to have a statement. First, we need to have a statement. We are assuming this is one of the statements that we are assuming. We are taking this one as the sample bank account statement that we are receiving from bank. I will put a table for it. Okay, this is a bank statement that we are considering. For this statement, if you have to do this statement in SAP, if you have to do it manually in accounting, you don't need to do anything. But if you have to do this bank reconciliation, BRS in SAP, there are two ways to do the BRS in SAP. Now, if I put BRS in SAP, so we can perform BRS in two ways in SAP. There are two ways to perform BRS in SAP. First one is manual BRS. Second one is electronic BRS. So whenever somebody is talking about BRS, we need to understand what kind of BRS are we going to talk, or what kind of a BRS you are going to say that you have experience or you worked in your previous project, you can handle, you are aware of in SAP. There are two ways. One is manual bank reconciliation. Second one is electronic bank reconciliation. Logic, everything remains the same. The way we use it is different. Now, manual bank reconciliation statement is normally not used in most of the organizations. In most of the organizations, what we use is electronic bank reconciliation statement. When we're talking about BRS in real time, majoritarily what we use is electronic bank reconciliation. Very rare somebody will be working on manual, but majoritarily it is always EBRS. When you're talking about electronic bank reconciliation, you have to understand two formats called MT940 or BAI2 format or BAI2 format. So these are two formats that you need to understand. These are global formats. These are global format. For any bank, for any country, the statement format, statement content remains constant in these two formats, whether it is MT940 or BAI2. Majoritarily MT940 will be in use. Countries like US and all will be working on BAI2, but otherwise majority of the countries will be working on MT940 format. So depending on your experience, BAI2 you can say you have not worked on it, but MT940 is mandatory for every consultant, whoever is working on SAP, whoever is telling that I have experience on SAP. Electronic bank reconciliation with MT940 format is mandatory, no exception for it. Right? Now, first thing what we will do is we will understand the manual bank reconciliation. Here there is no specific format. Here it is manual input or data entry. Manual bank reconciliation is all about your manual input or data entry of the statement content. Whatever the statement that you have, that will be manually given in the bank statement of manual BRS, or you will do a data entry for it. When it comes to electronic BRS, there is no manual intervention here. The statement as it is received, it will be uploaded in SAP. The way we receive the statement, in the similar way, without any modifications, you have to update the statement in SAP when you are working on eBRS or electronic BRS. Make sure whenever you are working on eBRS, you do not make any modifications. Even when somebody is telling, do you modify anything in statement? Strict no, because no modifications are allowed in the bank statement whenever you are performing a BRS. As it is, you download from the bank statement, you have to upload it. Not even a dot, not even a space in the statement allowed. Right? Now, understanding that there are two ways of bank reconciliation statement, either manual or electronic. Now, you have to understand bank reconciliation of both the processes without fail. You have to say that you worked on manual, you also worked on electronic, and you are aware of both. After understanding that there are two ways of bank reconciliation statement, next point is to understand accounting entries. I will write accounting entries in BRS. When we say accounting entries in BRS, this is very important. When we say accounting entries in BRS, this is very important. Now, there are two types of accounting entries when we write here. One is original entry. Second one is BRS entry. One is original entry, second one is BRS entry. We need to understand what is original entry, we need to understand what is BRS entry. Now, whenever you are talking about any payment, we are first talking about payment in the sub account. Later on, we are talking about movement of payment from sub account to main account. So whenever you talk about payment, you will first record the payment in sub account, and then you will move the payment from sub account to main account. On the other side, when you talk about only the main account, only the BRS entry, there is no original entry. There are only two ways where you get only BRS entry. One is your bank charges, the other one is bank income. In short, any expenses, any incomes that are coming from the bank statement will have only the one leg. In short, will have only one BRS entry. Apart from bank charges, apart from bank income, whatever the payment that you are getting will have two entries. One is your original entry, second one is your BRS entry. Now, before we understand original entry, BRS entry, few points we need to understand. So what we need to understand is, we have to understand house banks. We have already talked about house bank. We understood how house bank is created. You have to create your bank's operating bank account as a house bank in SAP. If your company is operating in, or if your company is holding a bank account in, assuming HSBC Bank, and I'll say INR account, INR current account. Assuming that this is the account number. Just an example, if this is the bank account that the company is operating, you are going to create a house bank for the HSBC Bank, for which we are going to use the configuration of FI12, and we are going to use Fiori application called Manage Bank Account, and there you are going to update house bank plus account ID. This concept, this configuration we have already done. I hope you are aware of how to do it. Now this is the prerequisite. Before we come to bank reconciliation, BRS, we have to understand how house bank is created and how account ID is created, where we are creating, what points we are considering while creating it. You have to revise once again. Once house bank is created, in house bank we are calling something called GL mapping. In house bank, we are calling something as GL mapping. When we are talking about GL mapping, we are representing main bank account and sub account. We are using a concept called main bank account and sub account. Now, why we are using main bank account? Why we are using sub account? At the time of house bank creation, we understood this is mandatory requirement, especially in SAP, to use main account sub account concept only for the purpose of BRS or only for the purpose of bank reconciliation statement. In order to perform bank reconciliation statement or bank reconciliation thoroughly, you need to make sure your GL account mapping is based on main account sub account concept. Now, here main account only updated or posted while doing BRS. Your main account is only updated or is only posted while doing BRS. Now your sub accounts updated while initiating receiving payment and while doing BRS. Your main account is updated only while doing BRS. In short, if you are not doing BRS, there is no work with main bank account. Your main account is not updated if there is no BRS. When there is BRS, your main account is updated. But apart from BRS, your main account is updated whenever you are initiating the payment or whenever you are receiving the payment. Whenever payment is made, whenever payment is received, your entry will be recorded in sub account. When you are reconciling the payment, either incoming or outgoing, in short, either payment or receipt, you are going to post entry in sub account as well. In short, main account is going to have single entry, sub account is going to have double entry. Main account will have single entry. In short, one accounting entry will be updated in main account. In sub account, two accounting entries will be updated. One debit, one credit, which will make sure your sub account transaction value will become 0. Since you are posting debit and credit in sub account, sum of debit and credit is equivalent to 0. Transaction value in sub account will become 0 when you reconcile the bank statement. So that is why you have to understand the original entry and BRS entry. Now, main account, when you talk, main account always ends with 0. I'll put *0, and sub account is not ending with 0. Sub account will end with 129. I'm putting *129, which means your sub account can end from 1 to 9, anything, maybe ending with 1, 2, 3, 4 until ending with 9th digit you can take. In short, this is how you are going to create bank GL accounts in any organization. In the similar way, with the similar logic, you have to remember, so that when you are explaining to anybody, when you are looking at any client's bank reconciliation process, you have to find it exactly the same way that you have understood, that you are aware of BRS. You should not find differences, you should not find mismatches that will create unnecessary problems when you are actually working. Now, after remembering this, next thing, we have to write some accounting entries. In the bank statement, what I have listed is, if I go up to the bank statement, 6 kind of entries I have listed. 6 kind of entries I have listed. One is check issue, second one is check receipt, third one is bank transfer payment, fourth one is bank transfer receipt, fifth one is bank expenses, sixth one is bank income. Now I will write same thing here. Now I will write transaction. Now transaction I will write check issue. Okay, or I'll simply say check issues. And second one, I will write check receipts. Third one, I will write bank transfer issues. Issue is not a problem. Issue is like you're initiating the payment. Now, fourth one is bank transfer receipts. Fifth one, I will put bank expenses. Sixth one, I will put bank incomes. When we write these points, let me highlight these points first. Now, this is the transaction that I have listed. After the transaction, let me highlight only this. Here I will write original entry. Next one I will write BRS entry. For everything we need to understand what is the original entry plus what is the BRS entry. Okay, original entry we need to understand plus BRS entry we need to understand. Now, whenever you are talking about check issues, we are talking about payment processed via a check. In short, you are issuing a payment to a vendor or to anybody by writing a check to the supplier. When you are issuing a payment by writing a check, make sure what accounting entry is going to get generated or what accounting entry we are going to pass. Here the original entry is normal accounting entry whenever you process any vendor payment, majority of the cases. When you process any vendor payment, you are going to debit vendor account. So I will write same thing, vendor debit, and I will put vendor debit, and I am going to put bank check outgoing credit. This is the accounting entry that I am going to write or that we will be writing in any organization whenever they are processing any check payment. Vendor account will be debited because debit the receiver, vendor is receiving the payment, vendor is on the debit side. Credit what goes out, your bank payment is going out. Bank check outgoing GL account, we are going to put it on the credit side. This is your original entry. Now, when you are passing the original payment, you are not taking the payment into main account. Instead of taking payment into main account, we are taking the payment into outgoing account. This outgoing account is called as a sub account. This outgoing account is called as a sub account, is also called as a waiting account, is also called as a clearing account. You can either call it as a clearing account, sub account, waiting account. Different people, different clients, different users use it with different terminology. Do not get confused. Here you are using this accounting entry. Next one, when you are receiving any payment, payments are issued by the customer, debit the receiver, credit the giver. Customer is giving the payment, customer will go on the credit side. You are receiving the payment, debit what comes in, you are going to debit bank payment. So what I will do, I will write bank check incoming debit here, and customer is giving the payment, I will put customer credit here. This will be the original entry for the check receipt. Next one, whenever you are processing bank transfer issues, it is the same thing, same accounting entry. The nature of GL account will be different. In place of check outgoing, it will be bank transfer outgoing. In place of check outgoing, you are going to put bank transfer outgoing credit. Similarly, when you are receiving any payment from any customer, same accounting entry that you have listed for check receipt. The only difference is check incoming will be transfer incoming debit. The mode of payment is being changed. Check, transfer. If you have any other mode of payment like NEFT, RTGS, ACH, whatsoever, you are just going to replace check, bank transfer with RTGS, NEFT, ACH, whatsoever. This is the mode of payment. Currently, we are considering check as one mode of payment and bank transfer is another mode of payment. If there is any other mode of payment, you are just going to replace this and you are going to add another accounting entry for it. And after this, there is something called bank expenses. As we know, bank expense you will come to know only after looking at the bank statement. Without looking at the bank statement, we cannot predict what is the bank expense. Similarly, bank income also we can say only after looking at the bank statement. Before looking at the bank statement, we do not know what is the income that we have received from the bank statement. Now, for these, let me highlight one by one now. First one, when I take this check issues, I will highlight this accounting entry alone. I'll put a box for it and I'll put a separate color for it. Okay, for check issues, this is what I have given. Original entry is your bank check outgoing account. Now, when you're performing a BRS entry, this is within bank. When you're talking about BRS entry, your BRS entry is always within the bank. Within the bank, you are going to have two type of GL accounts. One is main account, the other one is a sub account. So your BRS entry is always between the bank GL accounts. No other GL will come in between your BRS entry. It is purely bank related GL accounts will be used during your BRS entry. Now in BRS entry, your entry is majoritarily between main account and sub account. It's called transfer posting between sub account to main account or main account to sub account. Now when you're talking about BRS entry here, your original entry is showing bank check outgoing account credit. Now until you receive the bank statement, until you verify that the payment is deducted from your bank statement, you are not going to move this payment to main account. The moment you get the bank statement, you look at the bank statement, you identify, yes, this amount is now appearing in the bank statement. You are going to pass an entry for BRS. For BRS, the accounting entry, wherever you have sub account will take the opposite position. Sub account position is replaced by the main account. When I say sub account will take the opposite position, sub account is currently on the credit side, the opposite position is debit side. I'll take sub account on the debit side. So I'll replace debit with the credit. Okay, sub account is taking the opposite position in BRS. Now sub account position will be replaced by main account. Sub account position is replaced by main account. So here I am going to write bank main credit. Bank main or main bank credit. Okay, this is your accounting entry for BRS in case of check issue. Similarly, in case of any check receipt, same logic, you have to understand. If you have the bank sub account on the debit side, the same bank sub account will take the opposite position. I'll take this to the opposite position, debit becomes credit. I'll just have to replace debit with credit. I'm just replacing debit to credit. Now the same position is replaced by the main account. So it was on the debit side will be replaced by bank main. This I'll put on the debit side. This will be the accounting entry for BRS in case of check receipt. For this, let me put a color and let me put it in a box. This is another entry in case of check receipt. Similar logic is valid for the other payment. When you take the other payment, you have bank transfer issues. Here also same logic. Your sub account position is taken over by the main account, and sub account will take the opposite position. Sub account is on the credit side. Sub account will go to opposite position, which is your credit. So opposite position for credit is debit. I'll take it on the debit side. Next, on the credit, what is going to come? It is going to be your bank main account. Same logic. I will put a box for this, and I'll put a different color for this. I'll put a different color this. This is another accounting entry. Same logic for your transfer. What we are understanding, if your sub account is on the debit side, in the BRS, it will take the opposite position. Debit becomes credit. So I'll take it on the credit side. Debit, I will replace it with credit. Now, if it is credit, my main bank account will be on the debit side. One leg is always main bank account in your BRS entry. If you see everywhere, either debit or credit is always main account. Only one account which is fluctuating, that is your sub account. Same thing here also. I will put a table. I'll put a different color here. After this, there is something called bank expenses. For bank expenses, there is no entry for original entry because bank expenses are accounted only during bank statement. So this is your bank statement entry. Any expenses debit by default. So I am going to write bank expenses debit, and the bank main account will be on the credit side. So I'll put bank main account on the credit side. Last one, bank income. Any income we know that it is credit, so that your bank main account will go on the debit side. It will be debit, and I will put bank incomes on the credit side. Here also same thing. I will highlight this separately. I'll put a different color for it. These are your accounting entries for the BRS. These are the accounting entries that we are writing for our bank reconciliation statement or for your BRS. These accounting entries, as it is, you have to remember first. Whether you use manual BRS, whether you use electronic BRS, whether you don't use BRS, you do manual entries, the same accounting entries as it is will be followed. Remember, these accounting entries are mandatory to be explained in any of your interview. Everybody will ask you what are the accounting entries. First, we have to remember the accounting entries. Once you remember the accounting entry, then you have to look at this accounting entries, and we have to take our sample bank statement. We need to map these accounting entries with this accounting entry, and then when we practice it, we will practice with the similar. We are going to create same Mr. A as a vendor. We will issue a check on the same date. We will update the check number as the same number. Okay, similarly, we will initiate a payment for Mr. C, and we will process a check transfer payment. We will put same reference number as a transaction reference number. Similarly, we will receive the payment from a customer. We will process the payment with the same reference number. And then we will see the original entries are already available in the bank. We will pull the bank sub account GL master, GL reports. We will understand in these sub account, this is what is the current outstanding. And when you upload the bank statement or when you process the bank statement, we need to make sure BRS entries are being processed. Your bank main account is reflecting the exact closing balance of what we have taken. So that is where you are going to understand the flow first. So we should always understand the flow first. Understanding this flow will take a little time because it creates a lot of confusions in the beginning. We will get into a lot of confusions, but once we execute this in SAP, we will be fine. We will be familiar with it. All the confusions will automatically disappear once we see this practically in SAP. Then when we are configuring it, then when you take an example, when you configure it in the sequential order, you will get the logic. Initially, we will not be able to understand it. Do not get surprised that you are getting confused. That is common. In fact, if you are getting confused now, then you are on the track. If you are able to get confused, something is tricky, then you are on the right platform. Because initially it will create confusion, then this will become a clarity. Alright, these accounting entries is what I want all of you to remember first. Once you remember these accounting entries, tomorrow what we will do is I will show the configuration steps for manual BRS first. First, I will do the manual BRS and we will process the transactions in tomorrow's session. We will keep all the transactions, all the original entries ready in tomorrow's session, and then I will show the reports of vendor, customer plus bank sub accounts, and then in the next session we will perform the BRS. And once you understand the manual BRS, 80% of your manual BRS is your electronic BRS. You just need to add up to 20% of changes in electronic. Otherwise, whatever is there, logic, accounting, entries, everything is exactly the same from your manual BRS to EBRS. Don't think that EBRS is something different. Whatever the logic we discussed so far, nowhere it is exclusively related to EBRS or manual BRS. Whatever we talked is common for both electronic BRS and manual BRS. Remember these points as it is. Prerequisite, I want you to practice house bank creation, GL master creation, and then vendor master creation, vendor invoice creation, automatic payment processing. This is something that I want you to practice, revise at least one time. Even if you do not log into SAP, it is still fine, but at least revise the process. Okay, to create a bank, you need to create house bank. House bank is created in FI12. You need to create account ID created in Fiori, manage bank account. After that, you need to create GL account. GL accounts you are going to create logically. You are going to create whatever the bank that you are considering. In our example, I took HSBC bank. Create HSBC main bank GL, must end with 0. Create one incoming outgoing bank GL accounts, check incoming, check outgoing, transfer incoming, transfer outgoing. Whatever the logic that you decide, make sure you decide the same logic. If you are deciding to create ending with 1 for check incoming, if you are deciding to create ending with 1 for check incoming, entire your practice you keep the same logic. So whatever the company code you practice, make sure you remember 1 as check incoming, or if you wanted to create 1 as check outgoing, entire your practice you remember the same thing, because you are not supposed to get confused there. Strictly no confusions are allowed here, because tomorrow when you are explaining to your interviewer or when you are talking to the client, please make sure you are not confused first. So you should be clear, you should be confident, for which whatever the logic that you feel, you go ahead with it. Or let me put logic here, whatever we put, so that everybody will follow the same logic. I will say let me write here, bank GL mapping. So I'll say main bank ending with 0. Second one, check incoming, check outgoing, transfer incoming, transfer outgoing. So check incoming I'll put 1, check outgoing I'll put 2, transfer incoming I'll put 3, and this one I'll put 4. Okay, this is what I'm going to use it. You also make sure the same logic you are going to follow. In APP, did we use ending with 1 or ending with 2? Anybody remember? Go to FI12. Sorry, this is locked off. Anybody remember in APP which GL account we've used? I think that
Bank outgoing,
company
sir.
code.
2.
2
I
only
think
we
2, sir.
created, sure.
Yes, sir.
Let me verify. Bank determination 9000 is what we are using, I believe. Bank account enhanced. Somewhere it is 1, somewhere it is 2. City HDFC. Okay, let's proceed with this. 1, 2, 3, 4 incoming outgoing, because even when we talk always incoming outgoing, we don't talk outgoing incoming. Okay, so let's go in the same sequence. Check incoming is 1, check outgoing is 2, transfer incoming is 3, transfer outgoing is 4. These are the sequences that you remember. Even when you create a bank GL account, make sure you follow the same logic. And based on the same logic, we are going to keep our test data ready in tomorrow's session. Okay, tomorrow we will create one house bank. Tomorrow I'll create one account ID, GL master. I'll create one vendor or 2 vendors. I will pass the vendor payment. Then we will also start accounts receivable basic in tomorrow's session. So whatever the way we created vendor, in the similar way we will create one BP grouping, we will create one vendor account, we will pass one vendor invoice, we will pass one customer account, customer invoice, we will process a customer receipt, then we will make sure all the data is made available in tomorrow's session, so that we are all set for BRS execution in the next session. Right? You also should follow the same process along with me to understand it. And when we are following this in the interview sessions, I will be talking the similar content so that you can get more clarity on it from interview perspective on these topics. Clear, right? So you're not supposed to delay your practice. Whatever you practiced or not practiced before, it is fine, but these topics are more and more important. Whatever the interview you attend, wherever you go, these topics are mandatory to be questioned everywhere. Even if you join a project, right from the day one, they want you to perform on these areas. So any questions, Tunde?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Just to add to what you were saying, I had like 3 interviews, and you were right. They asked about this topic right here. But 2 questions for you. One, in I think the last 2 sessions, I had requested if it was possible when we were doing the APP. I think I was asking if it was possible for us to see a sample of FSD that you were going to send to the ABAB for the Premium Medium Workbench. And you said you were going to do that, but I think maybe it escaped your mind. So just a friendly reminder. It's important to see these things, kind of like see. I know they'll be different for every company, but it's always a good idea to actually have a visual concept.
I'll show that, and then I'll explain how do we write the FS and how do we put the table field mapping for it. We'll do it.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And the other question I had is generic. I have an assignment that would require knowledge of asset accounting, but it's ECC. So I was wondering, is there that much difference as far as ECC and S4HANA for asset accounting?
Yes, there are differences only with respect to your initial org structure. Like if you are using leading, non-leading ledger, then you will find the differences. If there is only one ledger, you don't find much differences there.
Okay. What about the
Okay, if you're,
concept of, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah. What about the concept of having two different okay, you answered the question. You answered the question. The leading and non-leading ledger. Okay. But what about
Yeah,
the concept of the different posting period variants?
different posting period variants will come into picture if you have two ledgers. If there is a single ledger, there will be single posting period variant.
Okay, of course, of course. Thank you,
Yeah,
sir. That's my question. Thank you.
yeah. Ajoy?
Sir, in my current company, I have noticed that many of the clients they have used only three bank GL, that is starting from 0, 1, 2. No, they have not used the 3, 4, 5, 6 ending series. Is it correct as a configuration setting for BRS manual or EBRS? Only
See,
can I
if
use only
your
three GL?
client, you can
Please,
use
please.
that way also. But if you want to segregate payment, check payment, bank transfer payment separately, you can create outgoing check, outgoing transfer separately. Similarly, incoming check, outgoing check separately. If you don't want to segregate whether it is check, whether it is a transfer, you will simply put outgoing payment, incoming payment. So that is where you will create three accounts. Okay, if you are segregating based on the mode of payment, you will have more GL accounts. If you are not segregating the mode of payment, you will have single GL account. Clear? Huh?
One sec, sir. One sec. So, where we find the segregation means in GL level, GL line item display level. If we
Yeah,
create the
GL
check
level.
incoming,
Yeah,
okay,
because for payment method, you are going to create separate GL account. If it is check payment, you don't want to club check payments along with the transfers, correct? Huh?
okay,
Because number of transactions are more because both are sitting in same GL account. To identify a particular check payment, you are ending up searching for the transfer payments also.
okay.
So to have the clear segregation, this is how you will create. In any project, this is the standard approach, this is the recommended approach that you have to follow.
So that in bank account enhancement option, can I put there two outgoing GL account, that is check outgoing and transfer outgoing,
Yes,
right?
because for check, it is a separate payment method. For transfer, it is a
Okay,
separate payment method, right?
right, right. Okay, okay, sir. Okay.
Anjaneyulu?
Sir, here check incoming you have given as one, a transfer incoming you have given as three, then outgoing check two, and outgoing transfer four. Can I blindly remember this? Incomings are odd numbers and outgoings are even numbers, like that. In the real time
Yes.
also it will be same, or
Real time also
different?
it is the same. If this is
Incomings
what
are
the logic is followed, for all the
hmm,
banks, for all your client company codes, the same logic is used because when you do BRS, BRS is a dynamic configuration. When you say dynamic configuration, whether you have 10 company codes, whether you have 100 banks, configuration is one time.
okay.
You don't do BRS configuration separately for every bank. It is a common configuration applicable for all the bank accounts, provided your bank GL accounts are created in a logical manner like this. Ending with 0, ending with 1, 2, 3, 4 will have a fixed logic. You cannot change the logic for any bank, for any company code. Clear?
Okay.
So
Sir,
whether you take
here,
even number, odd number, any logic is up to you, but stick to the logic.
okay. You said that the for every bank account we will be having 10 GL accounts. That is starting with 0 and ending with 9, right? So in
Correct.
real time, uh, it will be these 5, or any extra GL accounts will be used by the consultants.
Some additional 2 GL accounts we will be using for excess debit, excess credit or suspense account. I mean to say suspense account, some things you will find only in bank statement, Some things you will find only in your books. Agree?
Yes, sir.
So for those kind of things, you will add two more GL account called excess debit, excess credit, or suspense debit, suspense credit. So that I will add later on. If I add now, it will create confusion. Once we are clear with the concept, then I'll show the additional 2 GL account.
Okay. In general, it will be having up to 6 GLs.
5.
I mean,
Yeah,
I mean, these 5 only, right?
correct.
These 5 plus suspense accounts 2. Total 7
Suspense
actually.
account too, that is optional. Somebody will use it. Somebody will say that no, we don't use it. So it's up
Okay.
to the
Okay.
client.
Okay. Can I
But
say
these are
our
mandatory.
client previously used only these 5 accounts to the interviewer?
When you say these points, nobody will ask you any questions. In fact, nobody will allow you to complete your answer when you're going in this way. Everybody will stop you in between. They'll go to the next question, because if you're explaining in this way, they understand your level of understanding. They'll not allow you to complete your answer also.
Okay.
But you have to explain in a confident way, so that you need to make sure that you are not getting confused. You are explaining in a conceptual manner by taking example wherever possible, which I'll explain in the interview sessions.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Nagavena?
Hello, Ajay. Can you cover one partial payment with APP before starting this BRS?
Yes, I'll post that tomorrow. In this, whatever the outgoing payments we have, I will add one more outgoing payment with partial payment in tomorrow's session.
With APP, right?
Yeah, with APP. I'll not
Okay.
post anything manually for outgoing payment. All this, whatever I have here, all the outgoing payments, we will do it through APP only, not manual. Only customer, I will post manual. All vendor payments, we will run through APP only. So
Okay.
here, we will add one advance payment, one partial payment, one normal payment. There, we will be adding two more payments here. Two more vendor payments, one for partial, one for advance.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Rupa?
Yeah, hello sir. My doubt is like here we have different bank accounts like main account, check incoming, check outgoing, and in Fiori screen we'll be creating the house bank account IDs, correct? So there will, to the account IDs we'll be assigning the GL accounts. So in like
There,
really
you
with
are going to assign main account. In Fury, you are going to assign main bank account.
like check incoming, check outgoing, we are not going to maintain any bank account IDs.
No, account ID creation is part of your BRS configuration.
No
When
sir,
you
like
create a house bank, when you are creating the house bank, you are going to assign main bank GL account ending with 0 in house bank config. And when you are
yes.
performing automatic payment program, in automatic payment program, you are going to assign only outgoing GL account. This incoming GL accounts, we don't maintain anywhere. These are manual posting.
Yes, sir. Like I'm asking about not about GL account ID. I'm asking about a bank account number. So really with bank we are gonna maintain this many accounts? No, no, only one account. So that original one we are going to assign to main bank account. Bank account number. I'm asking.
You're talking about this 37786, this one?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
with
for
bank
this
we'll
you
be
are going
maintaining.
to update only one GL account. You're right. That ending with 0 will be assigned to this account.
Then what about the like incoming, receiving and outgoing, sir? Dummy accounts we are gonna assign?
No, that we will be assigning during your BRS configuration, not to the bank account. Bank account, only single GL account is maintained, which is ending with 0. The remaining accounts are updated as part of your BRS configuration, not in the house bank.
Okay. No, I
So you'll have clarity once we do the configuration. No? All those confusions will get removed automatically.
Okay, okay, sir. And
Okay.
sir, I'm
Yeah.
having one error. Like I was about to create BP master data. but I was unable to find the BP grouping which I have created. So what could be the issue, sir?
Is your TR saved first of all?
Yes, even in the table level, I can see my BP groupings. But
What's your
while
BP group?
creating, it's starting with TO.
TO. TOLB?
Yes, yes, yeah, this one, sir. But in my system, when I checked, I could not find that.
No. Are you getting this 4-digit codes at the beginning or not?
No, this line is only not. I'm unable to see like TOLB local BP for TOIN. That
If you're
one only I'm
unable to
unable.
see, go to this one, customize localization layout, options. You will find interaction design. Under interaction design, visualization 1. Under control, enable these two checkboxes.
Okay, I can see the drop down, but my account group I could not see. Like now in your screen, I can see that. But
This
when
is
I
not
was,
user specific. This is
yeah,
not user specific. It may not be in the sequence. If you enable this setting, options, it will sort. If this is not enabled, it will not be in the sequential order. It will come in random order. You may be scrolling down to see at the T, right?
yeah, yeah.
So that could be the reason. You enable these two checkboxes and then it will appear.
Okay,
Otherwise,
okay.
it will appear, but it will not be in the sequential order. You may be scrolling down after S, T is missing there. Is that what your point?
Yes, sir. Like I can see all in a arrangement only, like all T series. Okay, once again I'll check, sir.
Yeah,
No
you check
problem.
once again, it will appear.
Yeah, sure. And also, sir, could you please show foreign payments also, like IBAN, in like how we could deal with that in case of foreign vendor payments? How are we gonna pay for foreign vendors?
Yeah, for this BRS testing, I will use it because I'm starting BRS. To test BRS, we need payment. So we will be doing both parallelly, your automatic payment, vendor payment, and parallelly we are also checking how these payments are reconciled so that conceptually we can understand the payment plus reconciliation.
Okay, okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So all the test cases related to our BRS, we are going to execute different payment scenarios. Partial payment, residual payment, advance payment, different payments of customer, vendor, we will do it as test cases and then we will perform BRS. So that both topics you will be able to understand, relate one with the other because these two are interconnected even in the real environment.
Yeah, okay, sir.
Yeah.
S-
Ramesh?
s-
Yeah, Ajay, go ahead.
Sir,
Sir,
can
hello.
we make Ramesh, please?
Okay, sir. So when we are creating clearing accounts like end with 1 2, so in an FS double the GL master will create. So there we need not to select open item, or we need to select, or automatically it will we
Open
need to
item.
select.
Open item must be selected.
Then in that case, what will be the field status here in G something zero?
You can put anything. You
So because
ideally
it
you'll
is
have to
potential.
put G004 obligatory value date.
So in main account, what we need to put?
Main account also it is the same thing. For any bank account, value date must be mandatory.
Okay. Sir, for example, if you are uploading to M9 party, so in which T code it will be stored and how we will see in SAP that bank line, sir?
After uploading the statement or before uploading the statement?
After uploading.
That we will see in the tomorrow's session. That I list out. The transactions
Okay.
table name, how we will see. If errors are coming, how do we handle? If entries are not getting posted, how do we check? All those things we will practically explore.
So both ways we can see, both way you will say, right? MP9 party and BA1, both. right?
MT940 I will show first. BAI2 we will see later on.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sir, can we make partial, residual, and vendor advance payment through APP program, sir?
Only partial can be made. Advance can be made,
Partial,
not residual.
not residual. Okay.
Not residual.
And sir, in FS00 GL master level, can we assign the house bank and account ID in main bank account, main GL bank
You have
account?
to assign that for all the bank, all the GL
bank
accounts,
GL,
main
right?
sub accounts,
Okay.
main and sub account. That is only for the reporting purpose. Nothing will happen if you assign, if you
Okay.
don't assign. It's only for the information
Okay.
purpose. Tomorrow when you pull the data from table,
Hmm.
GL master, you can easily find out this GL account is related to this house bank, only for that information purpose. Otherwise, if you update, if you don't update, nothing is going to happen.
Okay. But sir, in bank sub GL account, can we tick checkbox active for relevant for cash flow, or
Relevant cash flow
or
is mandatory for all cash bank GL accounts.
is it means main sub all?
Any bank GL account, any cash GL account, you have to enable that relevant for cash flow. Otherwise, certain kind of transactions will not be processed. It will stop.
Certain means what kind of, sir? TDS payment is
Yeah,
one
kind of
type of, right?
TDS payment and all. In backend programs, system will verify that your bank account or cash account must be allowed for relevant for cash flow. If that tick is not there, some entries or at some places it will throw error.
Okay, it will throw
So
error by
in
the
that case, you
system.
have to enable this. So while creating the GL master itself for cash bank, you have to enable it so that we don't get any further problems.
Further. Okay, sir. My another point is in FBZP configuration and APP run configuration, we have left out so many important tick box, means due date or some kinds of some topics I can remember right now. So can we show us all the topics?
Yeah. I will do it. I will do
Okay.
it because we have to process different scenarios for different further topics. There, I am going to add a different payments. Like tomorrow, we will be talking about advance payment, partial payment, clearing, and all. And when we run the taxation, we will process the APP along with the tax payments and all.
Tax
And I
payment
will
double
also
check
add a discount and all. Yeah.
discount.
Because to do any scenario going forward, you need vendor payment. So in vendor payment, whenever we perform APP, I will be showing different points, different scenarios there. It's not that we will do it now, we will say this is closed. We will be revising it, we will be recalling it multiple times with different scenarios so that it will be kind of a revision, and the content, the screens, whatever we are going through will be in your mind so that you'll be familiar with it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Fine then. Let
Sir,
me stop the recording. Yeah.
sir, could you please send tomorrow morning's link, sir, in group? Morning sessions, batch 3.
Yeah. Yeah, fine. As I said, currently I'm just taking the overview classes. From next Monday onwards, I will be taking the regular classes morning 7:30 a.m. For that, whoever wants to attend, I'll put a message once I create a new batch for it, because I've not yet created a batch for it. The batch that I created now, the group, is temporary group. I'll delete that group once I start the regular classes.
Yeah, okay, sir.
Sir, what topic
sir,
you
can
are going to take in morning session? Only controlling part, basic controlling,
No.
or
That is general demo sessions, not relevant for you. That's why I did not put those links in the group.
but sir, is there any class in 8 p.m. for controlling part today? 8 p.m.
Yeah, we had 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. every day there will be controlling a class, and from 9 p.m. to 10 or 10:30 we will have a regular
Regular.
class.
Right, sir. Okay, sir. Please share the link
Okay.
in group, sir. Okay.
And
Yeah,
sir,
yeah.
regarding that interview session, sir, when you will be taking?
From tomorrow I will take, because I'll have the less time period. Only if I reach on time from my office, I can take the interview session, because we have hardly 30 to 45 minutes slot there. In case if I get late from my office, I cannot take interview session. But on weekends, I will take additional sessions only for the doubts clarification and interview sessions, like whatever sessions we are leaving, those timings I will be covering on Friday, Saturday. So talking about different other points, different questions, different topics, explanations with respect to interview.
So that list which you prepared regarding that interview, that was going sequentially, so that will be continuing
That will go. That will go in sequence. So next interview session, whatever I take, I'll go in the same sequence. I'll be explaining in the same sequential order.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah, Sandeep.
Sir, even with the user IDs which you created for the unavailable videos in YouTube, I mean, whatever the videos we were not able to see through our IDs, and with the ID you have created, I mean, whatever the registered ID, with that also we are not able to see many of the videos, sir. I don't know why those are still hidden.
The recent ones, or you send me any one link, I'll check that. Anyone
Yeah.
that you are able to see, no? Put a screenshot to me on my WhatsApp.
Yeah, that is the whatever, sir. Ajay SAP FICO viewer 22@gmail.com for that.
No, not user ID. I want that the screenshot where you are unable to see it, so that accordingly I can pick and add it if anything is left out.
It is showing as hidden. Videos are there, but hidden it is something like that. So
For all
same
or for only
only.
few?
For integration related, not me, sir. Somebody actually pinged me and asked if I have any idea on that. They have shared the screenshot where they are not able to see 5 of the videos only related to integration from our group only.
Yeah, in between some classes are missing, sir. Some recordings are missing, like 46, 47, 48 class records.
Those must be there. I think somebody who shared recently the Excel sheet will contain all of it. But anyways, I will check that tomorrow.
The missing videos is different, but the videos are already uploaded, but we are not able to access that. That is something my concern.
That should not be the case because I already added, but I'll check anyways.
Yeah.
If
Actually,
you're
what
able to
happens, sir,
log
for
in, it is not able to see, then that should not be the case. I've given all the access. Whatever is there, all the recordings I've given access. But I'll anyways recheck.
yeah, earlier for asset accounting, we are not able to see around 9 videos. Now we are able to see only 7 videos. The rest of the remaining 2 are still hidden. That is something I'm confused. Why it's happening like that?
I will verify. I'll go and check inside that.
Yeah, I will send
Yeah.
you the screenshot as well.
Yeah, fine. Just put those email IDs alone once to me. I'll add everywhere, wherever
Sure.
it is missing.
Sure,
So
sir.
the
Sure. Thank you, sir.
URLs which are there in the Excel sheet will be there, or it will get deleted after some time, sir? Or we need to
No, it will be
download
there.
and
It will be there. It will be there. They'll not get deleted. It will be there.
It would be nice if we can stop sharing the videos, please.
Sorry?
Now, I was just making a comment that, it would be cool if we stop sharing the videos because, people have regular jobs and I don't think it's fair for people to just have access to the videos that have not paid for it.
Yeah. All right, fine then. Let me stop the recording. So